I've been through the struggle, but I didn't put my head down, you know. I always seen the light at the end of the tunnel, so I felt like it was something to go towards and keep pushing.
PBE Pluto is about as skilled and proficient a rap artist as you're likely to find. But this native of Alabama isn't only just that. He's also a veteran, a budding fashion designer, and an entrepreneur who's capable of dropping some truly sick bars and beats. Don't believe me? Then check out some of his singles like Soak Up the Drip, a track that's approaching 1 million streams on both Spotify and YouTube. But all that success doesn't come easy, and Pluto had to grind on his own for damn near everything he's ever achieved. So we got in touch with Pluto to learn some never before heard facts about his come up that we're about to share with all of you right now on our latest episode of Before They're Famous. But before we start, don't forget to like, subscribe, ring that bell for notifications. The more you do those 3 things, the more exclusive collaborations that we will be able to bring you. Without further ado, let's get right into it. PBE Pluto was born Brent Parker on February 17, 1987 in the city of Mobile, Alabama, where he spent most of his childhood growing up in what's known as the Orange Grove Projects, while moving between a slew of low-income housing. In fact, Pluto claims to have bounced from house to house more than 50 times by the time he was 12.
We literally moved 50 times by the time I was 12. And we stayed in pretty much every neighborhood in the city.
His mother, Stacy, was what Pluto himself described as a hustler, a woman who worked odd jobs on and off every day of Pluto's childhood until she wound up being sent away to serve an 8-year prison sentence when he was a young man. Meanwhile, his father, Percy, was a military vet who spent Pluto's childhood away from his family, stationed overseas. That being said, he'd visit his son whenever he was on leave, and it was during these short trips that Pluto would get to spend the most amount of time that he ever got with his father. When it came time for summer each year, Pluto was sent to live with his paternal grandmother, which he says was the only place he ever got exposed to actual rules. For instance, Pluto had this really bad habit of referring to his elders by their first names only, and his dad got tired of him doing that. So when Pluto would spend time with his grandmother, she taught him to use proper titles of respect, like Granny, Mama, and Pops. Outside of his older role models, Pluto grew up around a ton of siblings, talking 6 of them. 2 on his father's side in Bremen and Luca, and 4 on his mother's side with Brock, Timbo, Kemby, and Brittany. During the early days of his childhood, Pluto says that he was closest with his elderly sister, Brittany. And in a way, that makes a whole lot of sense. I mean, after all, these 2 not only share the same set of parents, but the same birthday too. They were born 3 years apart from one another in the same hospital room and even delivered by the same doctor. As for how Pluto liked to spend his childhood, well, he played a whole ton of sports, but his real passion was music, specifically the school band.
One day I just picked up the sticks and kind of joined in, and you know, he was listening like, whoa, hold on, you actually could play that, you know, and you know, I had been watching. I learned very easily by ear.
And when I say he was serious about it, I mean he was really serious about it. As a kid, he used to watch high school band practices from afar and then go back home, empty out his neighbor's flower pots, and beat on them like they were drums. He got so good at doing this that he won himself the spot as the main drummer in a second-line band at the age of just 10. Even at such a young age, Pluto wound up performing at weddings, parties, parades, and even a few funerals. As an added bonus, he was allowed to perform in adult clubs and make himself a cool $50 per hour for each event. Not a bad gig. Eventually, Pluto found himself attending Murphy High School, where his favorite course was math class. When he wasn't walking the halls at school, he'd spend free time hustling and grinding to make himself as much money as he possibly could.
Got me running from people that were shooting at me, you know, got me in a bunch of situations that I knew I didn't want to be in. So I vowed to be a leader from there. I said, man, you know, I'm gonna do me. If ain't nobody going the route that I'm going, then I'm going this route by myself.
One of his ingenious schemes involved Pluto and his sister throwing some truly epic house parties once a year. The kind where total strangers would come from all over to attend and pay through the nose to get in. That's how good they were. Eventually though, this got him into some major trouble with the law. After throwing an all-time rager, Pluto made the mistake of flaunting all the cash he had earned on social media. Now I say mistake because these photos eventually made their way to local law enforcement, who were convinced due to his family's prior track record and some of Pluto's other associations that he had earned this cash by less than legitimate ways. The cops wound up raiding his house and tried their damnedest to pin some of the major drug charges on him. It took a while to beat the case, but once he had, Pluto knew it was a time for a change in his life. Shortly after graduating high school, Pluto made the decision to follow in his father's footsteps and enter the Navy. Prior to that, he had only worked a few odd jobs like being a dishwasher at a local restaurant for a couple of months and working with his uncle Brett, one of the biggest and most positive role models in his life, doing odd handyman jobs around town. But Pluto's stint in the Navy wouldn't wind up lasting all that long, and he dropped out to take care of his younger siblings.
I was an IT, I was on a few ships, and I got in some trouble and stuff in the Navy too, but I was able to persevere through that.
Now, this was around the time that Pluto's mom was sent to prison, and his younger brother Timbo was displaying signs of anger control issues. He'd get into fights constantly and had a really hard time channeling his rage over what happened to his mom. Rather than let his brother go down a dark path, Pluto headed back home. Not that this immediately fixed things. In fact, Pluto recalls how he'd drive by his baby bro's school, and by the time he returned home, there'd be a call waiting from the school's office, saying that he'd been suspended again for getting into yet another fight. So Pluto offered his brother an ultimatum: either shape up and finish school, or drop out and enter the world as a man. Now, Timbo did choose the latter, and while Pluto has kept an eye on him ever since, he says that over the years, his brother has come to realize that this was probably a mistake, and is now working on completing his GED. While dealing with all this drama at home, Pluto was also attending Remington College, where he would earn an associate's degree in computer science. All the other students there thought he was cheating because he would usually sleep his way through class, only to ace each test. But the truth is, during his short stint in the Navy, Pluto worked in the IT department, so he already had a foot up on everybody else.
Learn the business for yourself, Stop coming to people, stop feeling obligated. Like people obligated to do stuff for you, stop feeling like,
Beyond his degree in computer science, Pluto has also attended Faulkner University to work on earning a bachelor's degree in business administration. It's unclear if he finished earning this degree, but if he didn't, it's simply because he was too busy achieving his goal of becoming a professional musician. For about as long as PBE Pluto can remember, he's wanted to be a star. I mean, you remember how he worked so damn hard to turn himself into a stellar drummer at the age of 10, right? Well, for his entire life, Pluto knew that he could achieve this seemingly impossible dream. He just needed to find a way. His secret weapon was the motivation that he didn't want to live his entire life the way he had as a kid, moving from one 4-bedroom house with 20 people living in it to another every 3 to 6 months. To bust his way out of this never-ending cycle, Pluto teamed up with his brother Kemby to become the duo known as PBE. Okay, so by this point, you're probably wondering where that moniker comes from. Well, Pluto has been his nickname from the time that he was a baby, and was given to him by his great aunt. As for PBE, well, that came later. At the earliest stage of their career, these two went by Pluto and Kid Kemby. But when a fan hit Pluto up telling him that it was nearly impossible to find information about him online due to how many other associations the term Pluto has, he realized that he had to do something about that. Around that time, he had just ordered himself his first custom chain with the initials PBE, which stands for Parker Boy Entertainment. Shortly thereafter, when he had earned some extra money, he had his nickname added on as well, and he knew right then and there that PBE Pluto would be his handle going forward. After moving to Atlanta in 2015, these two got serious about their craft and began churning out some real bangers. I'm talking singles like Get Low, Drip Drip, the former of which would enter the top 40 on the US iTunes charts and various independent charts throughout Europe as well. Meanwhile, some of Pluto's solo projects like Soak Up the Drip have earned over 1 million hits on Shazam, but these are far from his only accomplishments. Outside of his work in music, Pluto has owned 2 nightclubs at earlier points in his life, in Club Infinity and Leaf Cigar Lounge. He's also operated his very own food service, Parker's Soul Food and Catering. Then there are Hollywood films that he's popped up in, like The Prince alongside Bruce Willis and 50 Cent. I mean, hell, he's even got his own fashion line titled Cross Cultured. I mean, simply put, it's undeniable that Pluto has lived a remarkable life to this point in time, and when asked about what message he would like to leave for his fans, well, he told us, keep grinding no matter what it looks like right now or who don't see your vision. As long as you can see it, you can achieve it. And that basically sums up the story of PBE Pluto in just 2 sentences. As for what comes next in this dude's career, well, we're just gonna have to wait and see. I mean, after all, this is before they were famous. Thank you everybody for watching. Once again, a huge shout out to PBE Pluto for helping us source this script. Before you head out, please take a second to like, subscribe, ring that bell for notifications, all that good stuff. And if you've got some more time to kill, check out some recent entries in this series like Big Boss Vet, Anders, and the PBE Pluto collaborator, Glorilla Pimp. My name is Clyde Smith, and I'll see you guys in another video.